Mike, what is it about Debo?
Who?
What's up, man?
Mike Jones. Let's go. What's up?
How you doing, man?
281-330-8004. I mean, listen. So you know how many times, Mike, I've wanted to do it, but I feel cornier than usual if I do it. But seeing Niners offensive coordinator Michael McDaniel do it, it was hilarious. Great. I gotta imagine you get that once a week at least. You ever get tired of it?
Once a week, more than that, right?
I'm being conservative.
It's pretty often. It seems like it happens like once a year in a press conference. Lamar did it last year. Normally when I'm in locker rooms before COVID, it was always whenever you introduce yourself. But I was like, well, last week my kids thought I was cool. They were like tagging it. So I guess it was a win for the time being.
Oh,
but
man.
It's a little old, but.
Because I'm a little jealous because, like, your name is Mike Jones. My name is Mike Smith. I don't have anything like that. I just got a nondescript, regular old name. You're Mike Jones, at least cool. You're cool enough in USA Today with the work you do in covering the league, the NFL, and now you get offensive coordinators shouting you out. That was a dope moment. But listen, man, we in an unprecedented moment, as you know. This is the first time since 2009 that either Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers will not be participating in a conference championship game. That is a changing of the guard. I'll try to, cheat and get a 2-for-1 here with you. Which quarterback is more likely to not be wearing that uniform next year? Do you think it's more likely that Aaron Rodgers is no longer a Packer, whether he retires or is traded, or do you believe that Tom Brady is more likely to walk away and no longer be a Buck?
I think it's more likely that Aaron Rodgers is gone. I think that loss, now look, he's going to take some time, etc., but I wouldn't be surprised if he sits back after thinking of that loss where he was under pressure because the line was beat up and he had nobody he really trusted except for Devontae Adams and the special teams. And I think he probably just sit back and say, you know what? This is what I was saying last year. This is what I was worried about. This is what I kind of wondered. We know during the season he said this stuff about all the grass is greener where you water it, but I know from talking to people that he holds himself, he feels like he's on Brady's level. And I think that he looks at Brady leaving New England, going somewhere else, winning a championship, and he says, I want to show I can do that too. So I would not be surprised if he's gone from there. I don't believe he's going to retire. He's too competitive still. We don't know what's going to happen with Brady. I could imagine the Bucks talking him into one more go around. But Rodgers, I really don't expect to be back in Green Bay.
See, but okay, as you wrote in USA Today right there, the legacy questions. So I was talking about this with Michael earlier and set me straight if I'm wrong. See, yeah, the special teams let him down. But that offense that is good enough, again, with you piloting it, Aaron Rodgers, good enough for you to get back-to-back MVPs, good enough for you to win 13 games for a third straight season, which no other team has ever done. You produced at home 3 points in your last 9 possessions. You lost at home in the playoffs for the last 2 years. It feels to me like I would look at Aaron Rodgers funny if he left and tried to find a better situation when the situation at Green Bay is plenty good enough for him to win. It's almost like if he left and went somewhere else, that would absolve him in his role in the Packers coming up short again. Would it not?
In a way, and I hear what you're saying, but look, he is 0-4 against San Francisco there. Since he won that Super Bowl, he's, I think, 6-8 in the playoffs. Having home field advantage, 7-9. Having home field advantage at Lambeau Field really doesn't matter. I mean, he lost in one conference championship on the road, then one conference championship there. Then this year they lose again. So I think for him, he's like, look, the time is ticking right here. If I can find somewhere that's closer, he still had some frustration with Matt LaFleur with the play call at the end of the conference championship last year. He had little jabs that he slipped in there. And I know he had a great relationship, he said, with LaFleur this year, but there's frustrations there. And look, they're going to be $40 million over the cap. They're going to have to be doing some moving. He says he does not want to be a part of a rebuild if he is still playing. I just feel like he's gonna be out.
Well, I just asked Mike Smith this. What's the best situation? If you had to pick a team, what's a good situation? If it's not Green Bay, I threw out Pittsburgh.
Right.
I heard a lot of people say Denver. What do you think?
I don't buy the Denver. I was asking a number of people about this around the league yesterday, and I did not get a lot of Denvers. I don't think that they're just a quarterback away. Also, you don't know who their coach is going to be. Now, say Nathaniel Hackett got that job, maybe it's a little bit more appealing. But, I mean, look where you in your conference. You got to be against Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert.
Thank you.
And that's not the path.
That's just the division. Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson.
Right.
Meanwhile, he owns the Bears. He owns the Lions. I mean, the NFC is the easier path.
But when you look at the rest of the NFC, right, okay, unless the Niners were to be like, see you, Jimmy G, Aaron Rodgers, come home, I don't know if there's an NFC team that's really at that Tampa Bay level when Brady was there. I think that it's probably, maybe, the Steelers were mentioned, the Colts were mentioned. At that time, someone said, hey, you never know if Sean Payton could get him to come there. We obviously know that's not going to be a thing now. But him and Mike Tomlin would be kind of intriguing. We know they seem to have a little man crush there. And they've got a great defense. They've got pieces on offense. Now, again, they're in the same division as Lamar, they've got, the AFC is tough, but that's a strong team when you're looking at the roster there. Also, same thing for Indianapolis.
Yeah. Pittsburgh don't seem to do business that way, where they would just like mortgage, the future to acquire a quarterback.
But Mike Tomlin did say, hey, look, you've got to explore everything now. He said that, last week in his presser. He did kind of say that, hey, look, he wants to win another championship. Maybe it's something where they kind of go out of character. You never know.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think when the dust settles, it's going to be like, oh, that only leaves Green Bay. So, meanwhile, you mentioned Sean Payton. You mentioned the news, which I guess after 15 years, it's not all that shocking. These coaches do end up feeling like, hey, I'm tired. So he's stepping away. Dennis Allen in-house seems like a prime candidate for that job. But they are 70-something million over the cap. So I guess your reaction to Sean Payton stepping away, and what's next for a team that, a year ago was a playoff team. This year was a borderline playoff team. Now they might be in a rebuild mode. What's next for the Saints?
Yeah, this is not, and I was just texting with people, this is not a very desirable job. Like you said, they're 60, 70 million over the cap. They got no QB. You got very few draft picks. You're going to have to basically strip this thing down. It's going to take some time to get it right. So, I mean, like you said, maybe Allen in-house, you'll see, a lot of these other jobs have a promising young quarterback, or they have a more desirable cap situation there. It's going to be interesting to see where the Saints go. But that division, it depends on what happens with Tom Brady, but that's kind of an open division if he does not come back. As far as Peyton goes, already talk about Dallas. Jerry Jones loves him. Now he might have to give up some draft picks to get him. Not talking this year, but next year. Mike McCarthy gets one more year this year. Then Jerry goes and gets Sean Payton, who has wanted to
but
be
why
there.
Wait?
Has been there, Well,
but wait, why wait? Why not this year?
Well, I mean, you could, but then are you going to pay Mike McCarthy and you paying him at the same time? Jerry. He's got the money. Maybe so.
Exactly. It ain't my money.
Why not? Right. Yeah,
you definitely have to come up with good compensation.
If you ask us, we're like, yeah, go ahead, do it, whatever. It ain't nothing but money. But but that's why I put Mike Jones. This is why I put it in my feed. I said, is Sean Payton really that much of an upgrade over Mike McCarthy? Look, Mike McCarthy's won the Super. Whoa, hold on.
Yes.
Have you watched these late game situations? Did you just not watch how they wet the bed against San Francisco? I mean, who had a losing record with Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback? Matt LaFleur walks in and just wins.
Hold on a second.
Mike McCarthy is he?
Well, Mike, let me ask you. See, this is why perception is so powerful. Perception is so powerful. You said Mike McCarthy had a losing record with Aaron Rodgers. Sean Payton had 3 of them with Drew Brees. 3 in 4 years, 7 and 9. 3 in 4 years. So they both have a Super Bowl title. their record is just off the top of my head. I haven't even looked it up. Off the top of my head, I bet you their winning percentage is probably similar. If McCarthy's is not
Y'all
better.
argue, I'll check. Y'all argue, I'll check.
Do
Go
that
ahead.
for us. Thank
So,
you.
I'll check while y'all argue. Go ahead.
I'm saying, like, I think what Peyton has the advantage of, he's a much more entertaining quote. He's got more of a presence.
It's a better offensive mind.
With the media. Okay. But don't by what metric though? Don't the numbers have to back up that?
631 winning percentage for Sean Payton, 608 for Mike McCarthy.
Okay.
You were saying. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean,
if you
not
have
an
a game on
obvious
the line,
upgrade.
who do you want to X and O and scheme up and direct your offense? Mike McCarthy, who, I mean, we don't even know in Dallas who's running that offense. It's Kellen Moore, it's Mike McCarthy. They don't know how to use Zeke anymore. Dak is struggling. I mean, and then you have somebody who even got something out of Teddy Bridgewater, who hasn't looked like anything, really since he was there, who got something out of Jameis Winston before he got hurt, who made Taysom Hill look okay. You really don't think that Sean Payton could do better with Dak Prescott than Mike McCarthy can?
I don't think it's an obvious upgrade. No, I don't.
No,
it is.
Huge. It definitely is.
Don't.
I think it is.
We'll see.
Michael Smith, don't you are you with me on this or no?
Oh, I'm with you. I'm just enjoying it. I'm just enjoying somebody else try to talk sense into him. Like I do it for 2 hours a day. I'm enjoying. I'm just enjoying the national NFL reporter from USA Today doing it for me. So thank you for. I can take a break. It is an obvious upgrade. Yes, it's an obvious upgrade.
Hold on. Oh, it's obvious. So it's
Yes,
631 winning percentage over 608 and one Super Bowl apiece, but one guy is like dramatically better than the other guy.
It's
okay,
funny
I got
when
it.
you decide to refer to numbers. I love
I just think it's funny. Like I just think y'all funny because it's like
honestly, all jokes aside,
y'all giving me like anecdotal stuff, but no science.
All jokes aside, I'm piling on a little bit. All jokes aside, as a New Orleanian, there are a lot of people who probably would agree with you, Michael. Sean Payton is not perfect. Sean Payton does some head scratching stuff sometimes. Okay, so I think the mystique of Sean Payton and the relationship with Jerry Jones and how much he's wanted Sean Payton and coveted Sean Payton adds to the perception that it's a clear upgrade. It's also a clear upgrade from an X's and O's standpoint. I think Mike Jones is right.
Exactly.
Let me pivot though, because I got to get some of these other comings and goings. Your thoughts on this? Yo, man. A former NFL general manager, a former black NFL general manager told me. Well, he's still black, but former general manager who happens to be black. He's still black. He said to me once. Yeah. He said to me once. He said, in the NFL, black executives more often than not are elevated. They're not typically hired from the outside. They're promoted from within. Well, today, 36-year-old Ryan Poles from Kansas City looks like he's about to be the Bears GM. Kwesi Adefo-Mensah, hope I'm pronouncing his name properly, from the Browns front office is about to be the Vikings GM. You reported that Dwayne Joseph, who I've known for a long time, now he's in-house in Las Vegas, is interviewing for the Raiders GM job. I mean, today is a pretty big day when it comes to the issue, the ongoing issue, and the ongoing fight to further diversify front offices in the NFL. We'll see what happens with the head coaches. Still no vacancies have been filled, so that process is ongoing. But to get Adefo-Mensah and Ryan Poles in front offices in Minnesota and Chicago, respectively, it's a pretty watershed moment, is it not?
No, it is. And especially if you couple it with last year where we had 3 hires, where brothers got jobs in Atlanta and Detroit and Washington. And so if you add this is what Troy Vincent and those guys have been beating the drum and have been trying to create opportunities for these guys to be developed, finally getting opportunities, being put in front of owners and team presidents for these interviews, in-person interviews, so that way it's just not grabbing your buddy. And Mike Tomlin, he wasn't expected to get that job. He got in front of the Steelers and really impressed them. These guys are really hardworking, talented guys, very brilliant, and they get in front of people. They're finally getting the opportunity to interview, and it's leading to some of these hires. Now, yes, still a long way to go, but all of those guys were in organizations that really believed in giving them opportunities to grow and develop and expand. And so they were able to use their talents, and you saw the success they were to have. Andrew Berry did that with his guys, and we're seeing them grow. So once these guys get into organizations and they start developing their own type of, growth systems, this is going to be something that will continue to grow. Now, again, head coach, like you said, long way to go on that. We don't know what's going to happen, but it does seem like more of these coordinators, there are more coordinators that are on the radars, guys like D'Amico Ryans and Raheem Morris and Leslie Frazier and Eric Bieniemy and Gerard Mayo.
Byron Leftwich,
Byron Leftwich, yes. So there are more. It's slowly happening on the coordinator ranks, and the hope is that it continues to trickle up. But you just never know, because you know how these owners do, and you just can't totally trust that they're going to do the right thing and really get fair opportunities.
If I may, I want to piggyback off that point, Michael, if you don't mind. Michael Holly.
No
and we got 3 Michaels on the show. If you don't mind, because some I've been wanting to talk about for a couple of days, and over the weekend, we saw Jim Caldwell refute a report that he had turned down interviews in Minnesota and Las Vegas, if I'm not mistaken. We know he's interviewed in Chicago and Jacksonville. And I'm saying to myself, and Michael, we talked about this before, in a cycle where people have said that there's no clear-cut, obvious, hot guy, who is more qualified? Who has a better resume than Jim Caldwell? Jim Caldwell has tutored Peyton Manning, Joe Flacco, and Matthew Stafford as a quarterback's coach, offensive coordinator. He has succeeded Tony Dungy and taken a team to a Super Bowl. He has won in a place where few others have, and nobody has since. So when you're looking at every candidate, they should be falling over themselves the more I think about it. Yeah, the new guy is sexy and the young hot guy and the young coordinator and this and the other. But like Jim Caldwell is a no-brainer hire, especially in a place like Jacksonville, where you're looking for an opposite Joe who comes with credibility and can relate to players in a way that Urban Meyer cannot. What are we missing on Jim Caldwell? Or is he just too much of a known commodity? Is he too obvious? Is it too much like Wright? What are we missing?
Look,
that's interesting.
These owners are not great at hiring people. You know, that's why it's such a copycat league. It's like, oh, you had a cup of coffee with Sean McVay, you must be sexy. Here we go. But yes, if you are smart and you have a young guy, and I think that he also would be a good hire and good fit in Chicago. So you have a young GM right here. You've got a young quarterback in Justin Fields. Why not have a guy who has seen and done it all, whether as a head coach or a coordinator, even a long time on the college ranks? He's got all the knowledge. He'd be a great sounding board to help a young GM, help a young quarterback. I don't know why we have to go just because this trend works with some teams. Why would you not want to have a really qualified guy who has had nothing but success in where he's been and also is a leader of men, and know anybody who's worked under him or worked alongside him or played under him has immense respect for him. But they'd rather go with sexy rather than logical and smart. But I think that if he gets an opportunity, he definitely will have success there. Another guy would be Leslie Frazier, who has had a lot of success as the defensive coordinator with the Buffalo Bills. Why has he not had another opportunity? Marvin Lewis is out there, once coach, did nothing, but was steady there and put them in the playoffs in Cincinnati with limited resources, not even a full-time scouting department. Why is he still on the streets? It just happens again and again. But again, Caldwell's number one. He needs to be hired by the end of this cycle right here. And there's a whole host of them that are still out there.
On a totally different topic, we know you have covered the Washington football team in your past. You're a national reporter, but you've covered the football team. So, February 2nd, Mike Smith says he's not excited about this, but I'm actually excited about what their name is going to be. What do you think their new name is going to be, or is the new name the current name? Are they going to be the football team after all this hype?
I don't think it'll be the football team. I don't have a lot of faith that they're going to get this thing right. We know the rumors, the Commanders or the Admirals. I think it should be the Hogs. If they're talking about history and everything like that, what does the Commanders or Admirals mean to the DC area? At least the Hogs were like an iconic offensive line that paved the way for 3 Super Bowls with the Joe Gibbs era, the only area of success that this team has had. It probably won't be. It's not sexy enough. But I have a feeling that we're kind of just going to be like, oh, okay, because that's the way almost everything is with this team.
Thank you. Hey, Mike Jones, is always a pleasure, bro. See, I don't even do it as good as Coach McDaniel did it. But anyway, it's fun
he
to have
did
you, man.
it.
Thanks for
It was
dropping
almost like he
knowledge.
did it like he was confused.
Well, he
didn't he?
does that. He's
like,
done that
who?
to me he's seen me. He used to be in Washington. Every time he sees me, he does that.
Yeah.
So he's got a lot of
great.
practice.
He's another guy. Look, the Niners keep this up. He might want to keep picking from that Kyle Shanahan tree on defense and offense because Shanahan ain't doing it all by himself. So, Mike Jones, appreciate you, bro. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks for having me,
Mike
guys.
Jones, good stuff. Hey, thanks for watching Brother from Another on YouTube. Make sure you hit subscribe before you leave, and be sure to watch us 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Peacock. Appreciate you.